break from our podcast, and we did that because we wanted to kind of build a new space to have this and for you to have more of your guests on. What do you think of it?
I love it. I was so surprised to get to see it all put together, and I know a lot of folks really helped out with that to make this happen, and a lot of sacrifice as usual around the sheriff's office. This place is all about having to sacrifice to make this happen, but it looks great. It is very important for us to get our message out to the public, any message. And we have found, we use so many different types of social media, and really, I think we use everything available. And this is just kind of another avenue to do that. And I just appreciate everybody having the vision to make it at least, look cool. Versus having to move stuff in and out of offices and make a temporary spot. So
it was an undertaking each time, and this way we've got a central
here.
spot.
Yeah, it's here, and you never know if who's going to come in here and pretend like they're on a radio station. And I've caught people in here talking to each other like, Mike wants headphones immediately as soon as he came in.
Made more. As being the first guest.
Wait, you're not the first guest, though.
Who was the first guest?
Well, we've had you haven't watched the podcast, have you?
No.
Okay.
We'll deal with that later. That's quite disappointing.
You can be our first guest, though.
Yeah, let me introduce Major Mike Moore.
That's extremely disappointing.
This is an important one. So
you guys have not only worked together for a long time, but you're close friends. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows that. So I want to kick this podcast off with a little true and false. Sheriff, I want you to answer the questions about this gentleman right here.
Oh,
you ready?
I'm not sure I like this.
Oh, he's in the hot seat. You're in the middle
now, buddy. There's
that's part of being in the
over
middle.
there, so you can't get out.
Go ahead.
True or false? On an average basis, Major Moore catches more fish than you do.
False.
Do you agree?
It really depends on where we're fishing at. I've had good days, but he's a hell of a fisherman.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
So you,
Totally.
we can say
it's
we can give
the
you
sheriff.
the prize.
It's
not
good to be
even
the
about
sheriff.
being sheriff, because that disappears when we hit the boat. When we hit the boat, it's not about sheriff.
The fish don't know, do they?
That's right.
They don't know. And I
Right.
desperately try to outfish him every time, and there have been a few times that I have outfished him, and I rub it in. But it is a true statement.
He did catch probably his personal best. We were fishing, probably 10 years ago now, and caught a huge largemouth, and I took a picture of it. He was so excited, got in the boat, and then he asked me for the picture, and I had lost it somehow. So,
Oh no.
yeah.
Mistake. Oh,
oops.
my God.
Oh,
I lost
whoops.
it somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know
Oops.
what happened.
I don't know.
I was there for it, but
I didn't lose.
But you'll never forget that.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I didn't lose the picture of his record smallmouth that he caught.
that's right.
I didn't lose that.
There's a record smallmouth?
Well, for him, yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely a personal best. It was,
Yeah.
we were up in Virginia fishing on the New River, and it was a good time.
Yeah. I didn't
True
lose
or
that.
false? This fine gentleman right here sings like a canary.
True.
Can you give us a small example of that?
Hello again. Hello.
We had a moment there.
I just called to let you know.
Wow.
I mean, the voice of an angel.
Yeah.
I dream about you.
He's not gonna stop
every
now.
night.
This is-
We'll have to
we
edit
primed
this.
that
Yeah,
part.
it'll be 5 songs, but
Just a little going out to Neil
he
Diamond.
he can sing. He knows the words to every song, and his wife has a beautiful voice.
No, my wife's the singer.
That's the real singer.
professional
That's the
singer,
real
and
singer.
and so he's had some good training. But
tag along.
yeah, he is a good singer.
I'm like that fish that swims under the shark. And
Under
my
the
wife
shark.
is the shark, yeah.
Yeah, we have a good time. That's for sure. Riding around and singing Merle Haggard, Johnny Cash, Waylon Jennings, whatever, John Denver. We have a pretty good time with that. You never know what's going to happen when we're riding together.
This is true. I've heard stories about pork rinds and Diet Coke, and
We've had them.
yeah, that could be a whole nother podcast for some of the adventures of the Dukes of Hazzard here. Last question: true or false? The phrase or the expression "bull in a china shop" was coined after this man was born.
Very much true. But he is the get it done guy.
Yes, he is.
So whatever is in his way will get bowled over to get to the point, the root of the problem, to get it done. And very trustworthy, great friend, and really, really loves the people. And that's one of the reasons why I asked Major Moore to address council in the committee of the whole meeting, because it affects him, it affects deputies here, and this man is a deputy sheriff 7 days a week, no matter what his rank is. Truly, we have great people that care about the people that do the work, and he's that guy. And now he's blushing.
We're gonna make him blush a few times today, but he was instrumental, as well as sheriff and all the other people here that have been working on the whole budget situation. Right. But almost every deputy here knew of or watched the meeting where he spoke to county council, the committee of the whole, where he was invited to speak. And I can't tell you how many deputies have made the statement that he spoke so well and he really stood up for us. He was respectful and he was just solid with information. And I mean, I want to say thank you, because sheriff's always fighting for us, but to see other people here, especially of rank, stand up and really, take the bull by the horns for us. I mean, thank you for that. I haven't told you that since you spoke there, but your words, the information you had, it really meant a lot to people here.
For sure. And then he was very passionate. I mean, you could tell he feels their pain. He feels the new deputy's pain, the pain of somebody that's been here between that 3 and 5 year mark, or that 15-year mark, or even 20-year mark, that stays here because they're committed to this agency and the community. He was truly a voice for those folks. And it was, it was something to see. I mean, I was able to sit there and have a front row seat to it, and very proud for sure.
Major Moore, when did you start with our agency here? You've been in law enforcement a long time, but when did you come here?
1997.
So if you had to kind of give a comparison window of what it was like then versus now on things like pay and deputy retention, kind of paint me a picture of how it's looked through the years.
In 1997, you could only apply with Greenville County as an uncertified officer for 1 month out of the year, and that month was February, the shortest month of the year. There was always a waiting list to come to Greenville County. When I left Anderson County to come here, I was a sergeant, and I got a $4,000 raise to come here and just answer calls and be a deputy, which is really what I wanted to do anyway. The raises were different back then when I first came. It seems like probably about 6 or 8 months after I got here, compaction became a real issue. And
explain what that is for people that don't know.
Well, they kept adding money to the starting salary and not adding it to the other ranks and the other positions and moving everybody up with it. So eventually, a deputy who just got hired gets in the car with a training officer or a master deputy, and they're making as much money as that person is.
More.
Yeah, or more. And you can't tell people not to talk about it because they're going to talk about it. So they share that information with each other, and it became a huge issue. Compaction became a huge issue here. And they eventually addressed it. And I think I'd been here like 8 months or a year. I got like 45 cents an hour, which was incredible for me because, like I said, I got a $4,000 raise to come here. But some people above me got $2 an hour, $1.45 an hour. It really addressed that problem. And it seems like that we address an issue like that, and then we'll make it full circle again to come back around and kind of ignore that going on and come right back to the same issues that we have. It is a little bit different now, the issues we face, but the law enforcement employment market was completely different when I got into law enforcement and when I came to Greenville County.
You mean as far as people wanting to come to law enforcement?
Yeah, yes. People wanting to get into law enforcement at all as a career has changed completely. Like we have to chase the people now. We have to meet them where they are. And it just used to be open the door and people would come in and you would have
Kind of waiting to come in.
right. You would have 300 or 400 applications, for one deputy's job. And that just does not occur anymore.
Why do you think that is?
I think things have changed throughout society completely. It started before the Black Lives Matter movement and the Antifa movement that we had when the sheriff first got elected. It really was before that. The economy gets better and people have more options.
Right.
When I got in 1991, we were in the middle of a recession and people were looking for secure jobs. Not just a job, but a secure job with nice benefits and things like that. But now these guys that are coming in, guys and girls that are coming into law enforcement now have so many more options. Mm-hmm. This generation, they talk about how bad the economy is or anything like that, but you really get the feeling from them that, you're not the only date for the prom.
Right.
I can go somewhere else. I can make more money. And it's not just here. My wife does this for a living. She's a recruiter. She does HR. This is everywhere because everybody has so many options, especially in Greenville. I mean, how many times have we made the top 10 list for fastest growing areas?
We stay on it.
Yes.
Stay on it.
And when you have the economy growing like it was, the economy growing like it is now, and jobs are plentiful. At one point in time, I remember Greenville County had basically 1 point something percent unemployment rate, which is statistically zero unemployment rate. They were paying $14 an hour, or $12, $14, $15 an hour at the McDonald's on Lawrence Road to get people in the door, and that was years ago. So Greenville is a successful place, and people have options here.
And it's changed too. Like Sheriff, you can talk to this. When I was younger, and tell me if I'm wrong, but there used to be kind of a, if you worked for the government, if you had like a government job where you had a retirement and you had pension and this and that was kind of a big deal. Like people wanted to work in positions like that versus going out and maybe the starting of the tech world or in different industries.
Sure.
And that's changed.
Kind of provided a safety net for a lot of families as people were starting families. I need to work somewhere with insurance, benefits, and a retirement. It's taking every dollar I make to live, and I really can't save and prepare like I want to. Law enforcement, a state level, county level job here was a big deal. And the major just spoke on here at the Greenville County Sheriff's Office. There's 1 month out of the year they did the hiring process. And that was for very few vacancies, probably that were added with the budget or retirements back then. They may hire one deputy, they may hire 4 deputies. Today, our recruiting department works nonstop. Just talking to them yesterday, we had 11 candidates in the pipeline for this quarter that were looking like they may get to the point of being offered a position. You have to take the PAT course. Several didn't show up for that, which is a physical abilities type test, very minimal. Then you do the background, the polygraph, and all those things that come with it. Well, out of those 11 people, there's only 4 left in that process, and we will probably only hire 1.
Right.
And we have 30 positions open today. So
they still have to go through the academy. They still have to go through
exactly
field training and pass all the
right
requirements.
We don't have the pool to pick from certified folks who can come right to work, get a uniform, get sworn in, get into the field training program to understand what our general orders are, what our policy and procedures are, what our operational standards are, where the bar is set for the Greenville County Sheriff's Office, and how we conduct ourselves and the things we do. You can get through that, and we can have them on the road really within 6 months. But that uncertified person, you go 4 weeks pre-academy, go to the academy in Columbia, come out, go to post-academy, then you get in a car with a field training deputy. And that's it's a year before those people answer their first call. and we constantly have those vacancies, and we have seen that evolve into where we are today with having those 30 vacancies. When I took office, we had 100 in 2020. We got some new positions with the budget and what was already here when I got here, and we could not provide the level of service that people in Greenville County need or require. We answer 500,000 calls a year, and we saw that early on with COVID. We put in minimum staffing just to make sure we had enough people out answering calls, and we shifted things and moved people, took some people out of offices and put them in uniform and put them on the road, more marked cars on the road, and trying to do all those things to prevent crime as a natural presence throughout the county. And as growth, I've addressed this with county council, and I'm simply asking the priority to be every budget cycle, put the people first. Not buildings, not roads, none of that. Put the employees who make the wheels go round to do everything you're going to ask them to do, put them first. We should not be presenting to council begging for a pay increase to keep up, and we'll talk about that later, I'm sure. We should not have to. Council should be coming to us and saying, hey, what do y'all need? Where you at? I don't get those phone calls. And that's what I'm asking them to do in several meetings I've had with different council people and at county council in a meeting. Put the people who do the work first, not just for the sheriff's office, the jail, forensics, property and evidence, the judicial system, the solicitor's office, the parks and rec, the people that work at County Square. Why are they waiting till the end of the budget cycle, right before we turn the page on our budget, for the administrator to send an email out and say, okay, you're getting 3%, and then that's it? I just don't feel like it should be that way.
It's always a dance. Every time you have to
you're on bended
that
knee begging, to keep people. If they have any problems here, if there's any issue in recruiting, the one issue should not be our pay.
Right.
We should be in the top of the pay band, top of the pay structure, from the chief deputy down to the newest deputy. That should be no question. And I know every agency inside the county feels the same way. However, they're not in a position of being an elected official where they can go and call these things out. And I'm going to use this pulpit because I'm elected by the people, and we provide service. So I don't work directly for council or the county administrator. I work directly for the people, and we're going to provide the top-notch service, the best service possible. But it takes money, it takes resources to make that happen, and we should all put our people first, no matter where they work.
So you went to council and you asked for a certain amount, and that amount was how much?
We've asked for a $12,000 pay adjustment across the board, from the chief deputy down again to our newest deputy, our newest starting pay, $12,000 from top to bottom to get us back at least in that top three, because that's always changing. We went from first place in pay in the state because this has been neglected, and we have to go back and beg every 5-6 years, and they'll do something. Again, that's the battle we're fighting. We went from first place to 31st place, and nobody was paying attention. And this has gotten a lot of attention, but the fact is, we run on a 2-year budget cycle. Now they just changed it to 1 year. So I've been involved in 3 different 2-year budgets. I've been here 6 years in March as the sheriff. So I've worked on 3 budget packets. Every budget packet we've asked for an increase for this to be addressed. And it's been pushed to the back of the line, and we're not doing that anymore. So we're taking it to the public, the people, and we want them to get involved. We want in the light of transparency, I'm asking the public to get involved. Call your council person and tell them this is public safety is a priority for you. Make it a priority for the sheriff's office. Pay those people, not for me. We got the highest paid council in the state. You got the highest paid administrator in the state. You got the highest paid sheriff in the state. Other elected offices in the state. Pay the people to do the work.
The math doesn't math.
Not at all. Not for the work they do.
The size of our county.
We answer more calls than anybody in this state. Calls for service. Make more arrests than anybody in this state. It's 12,000, 13,000. 12,000 arrests a year.
2023 was 12,000. They haven't put the numbers out yet for the other years.
According to SLED, what we file here, and we do that in a very timely manner. Our folks do a great job of getting those reports into the system for arrest. SLED takes that data and breaks it down and does a report every year. 12,000 arrests. That's just a snippet
in comparison
of the issues.
In comparison, the next one, closest one to us, is 7,500.
And that's who?
Myrtle Beach.
And they are, is it Myrtle number 1 or 2?
They're number 1 and number 2 are paid the same starting salary. It's Myrtle Beach and North Myrtle Beach.
Yeah.
But the difference is that Myrtle Beach has millions upon millions of people that go down there every year.
The tourist money.
For tourists but think about what tourists do. Tourists drink too much. Tourists get in domestic. Some of that stuff is...
They work collisions, the DUIs,
all of those things that go on in a tourist area that don't go on here. So for us to make 12,000 arrests in 1 year compared to their 7,500 is still a huge increase in the number of people we have coming here. Not to speak of, we have the ones that are documented and we have the ones that are undocumented that live in Greenville County. So it's probably closer to 700,000 people that live in Greenville County as opposed to the close to 600,000 that we talk about now.
And as long as we stay, top, I think last time I checked, we were maybe number 3 top ranked for cities to move to in the U.S. It's not going to slow down.
Right.
No.
And all of our municipalities continue to grow. The building boom, the taxes, the FILOs, all the things county council talks about, the impact fees they're doing a study on. I'm not telling anybody we need to raise taxes to make this happen. It's up to council to find the money. Simply make us a priority. It's always a priority when they call. On a Saturday and somebody's called and reported something to them and they call me at home and want a deputy out there right away, they want to be a priority only because, they're maybe connected. They're part of the county. We get that all the time. Those folks that you're requesting come out and deal with a problem in your district are good enough that you want them out there to deal with that citizen, but they're not good enough to talk about in the budget process. We present a budget to the county administrator. I hope now that I know now, everything I present, I'm sending to every council member, any request, and the county administrator so everybody can look at it. I had 2 council people at my budget meeting who later said, we didn't hear you ask for that. How did you not hear it? I gave you a copy of it. Mm-hmm. Like you mentioned earlier, what did I ask for initially? Asked for pay increases for deputies, level the playing field. We figured this $12,000 helps us get there to at least that top 2, top 3 probably by now because other councils are working on their budget. Help us stay in there. That helps us retain people, quality people. There's nobody that works at the sheriff's office that couldn't go to work for any other agency in this state. Highly trained, highly efficient, professional. There's nowhere they can go to work. So when you can go next door and make $15,000 more a year, how do you ask them to stay here if they've only been here 3, 4, 5 years?
And talk about our civilian employees too.
Absolutely.
I think that civilian employee pay is really, honestly, have been neglected more than the deputy pay has. I know I never was in a position to hear those conversations before as a lieutenant before I retired. But since I've been involved in this, I know that when he came in, that was one of the things he would always say is like, listen, our civilian pay is even worse. We have to compete for good civilians as well, but they constantly get neglected or left out. They'll give the deputies, which is important because they're facing the job that they have to face,
Right.
the dangers they have to face, but they'll just leave the civilians out of it like their job is not important.
But they're just as essential to this
We
agency.
can't operate without
Most important,
Yes.
our communications folks downstairs. That's a lifeline to every deputy out there and every citizen that calls 911. Our administrative staff up here that does the work, does the paperwork, does the certifications, answers the phones. Most of those folks have been here 30 years plus. You won't find more committed people.
Right.
And they get left behind because they're not making noise. In my 3 budget cycles, I've never asked for a raise specifically just for the sheriff's office. I have presented to county council, every employee at the county, this needs to be looked at. 1.5% is not enough. 3% is not enough. We have beat that drum for 6 years. And so now our next option is to ask the public to get involved and call your elected official and ask them to do their job and put people first. Those are the people that clean the roads. We got another snowstorm coming. They're gearing up. I got to go to a meeting here as soon as I get done here. They're gearing up for salt and sand and try to prepare for the people of Greenville to be able to get around and get mobile in this 4 to 6 inches of snow we're supposed to get. Last weekend during the ice, guess who was working? Every county employee in Greenville with shovels, scraping sidewalks, picking up people, transporting folks that need to get to work. I mean, that's...
And I think that one of the things that with the growth that we've seen in Greenville County, there has been some neglect on the government side. And I always use the same, when I'm trying to explain to someone how that works, I always kind of use the same analogy that we were having a party and we planned for 500 people to show up to that party. And when the doors opened, there were 1,500 people there. Well, you cannot go back at the time you open the door and build new bathrooms,
Right.
and buy more food and buy more drinks and get another DJ or more speakers. You're stuck with the plans you made. And we need to plan for the growth that we see coming. And that includes the sheriff's office and the jail and the solicitor's office to be able to continue to have the environment that draws those people here. It's not just the fact that they can live in the foothills of the Blue Ridge. They come here. They come here because they have a professional sheriff's office, professional police departments. They have professional solicitor's office. They know that when someone gets put in the jail, they're not going to be released just because there's no room left in the jail or there's not enough people to work. That public safety draws those people here as well.
And I want to play devil's advocate for the community for a minute. So, as someone that hasn't been a deputy for as many years as you guys have, obviously, I often think about what people out on the street think of what we ask for, what we say we need. So, for the common Greenville County citizen, they hear the sheriff's office asking for a raise in pay. First inclination might be, why do they need more money? You know, they've got all these people, they've got all these cars, they've got these special teams, they've got all these resources. What do they need? Why do they need it? We all need it. Why do they need it? How would you, on a very basic level, break it down to any citizen here in Greenville County, why, with the growth like you're talking about, and what we have and what we're asking, why it is absolutely important that you get some kind of something from county council to make this work?
I think one of the problems that has been addressed in other parts of the country, and maybe not as much in South Carolina, and some politicians, the way they look at law enforcement, they do not look at law enforcement as skilled craftsmen.
True.
And we are a profession.
I think anybody can do it. Anybody can walk
Anybody
in.
walk in the door can do it. And you have to realize that for you really to be effective, not just be able to answer a call, but to be able to answer a call well and to know all the resources that are available for that call and to do all the things to serve that victim, to make sure they get their justice or that they get their resolution, you have to know what's going on. And that really takes you more than 1 year. When they step out of a car, training officer, and you said, well, they've got a year's worth of experience, they've answered no calls by themselves.
Right.
And that's uncertified, not certified people, but uncertified. We can talk about that later. But when you have these folks coming in, like when I started, I didn't know anything. And it took about 5 years before I really had a good grasp on what it was like to be in law enforcement and to serve the public and to make good cases that were prosecutable. All of those things get lost every time we have to start over. So every time we start over with a brand new deputy, all of those things get lost. And we have to go back and teach them all again, and they get exposed to the calls they go on, and they rely on the people that are around them to show them how to do it. When they walk out the door, it's gone. I mean, I just lost a investigator in white collar. White collar is very technical job to be in. And there's all kinds. It's taking shape on the computer and everywhere else, and Bitcoin and all the things that are going on.
That's a whole nother world for fraud and danger.
So we go for 2 years with this guy and train him up and get him all the training he needs, and he gets exposed to all the experience we have, guys helping him, and we get him where he's doing a really great job, and he leaves to go to SLED for $20,000 more a year, and I have to start over again. So every time I start over again, when you call as a citizen to report that fraud, understand that you're going to get a guy who's learning again instead of a guy who already knew what's going on.
Because you get what you're able to pay for.
Yes.
Well, and in our case, we just gave up every new position. We're the only agency inside of Greenville County that sacrificed every new position we had in the budget to try to get an additional 3%. That's what the CAL meeting was really about, an additional 3% pay raise, because at the last minute they pulled the rug out from under us and we wound up with a 3% increase across the board, across the county. And I think it's important, out of our $70+ million budget, 92% of that is strictly personnel. There is no fluff. There is no, and we're not asking for that. We're not asking for extra training money, extra travel money. We spent, it was probably all we could do to get an additional $4 million after asking for that for multiple budgets to get new body cameras from a company. The recent shooting we had right here at the LEC where a Greenville City officer was shot. Had we not had those cameras and that technology that we knew we'd needed for the last 5 years, had we not had that, we would not have caught that suspect near as quickly or known who he was.
Be able to
we
identify
knew within
him.
minutes
Yep.
the tag number on the car, who is registered to, where to start looking. So that 92% is strictly for pay, benefits, pay, insurance, workers' comp, liability insurance, and those things. That's not money we can change or move. I can't find $12 million to make this increase happen. I don't
It's not
have.
there.
There's no fluff in our budget. Nothing to cut, to sacrifice. I've said this 100 times to county council, and Major Moore said this. This is fact. This is concrete from the Association of Counties. If you look online, you get their report from 23 and 24, you'll see it. It's in there. Numbers people will see it. Greenville County as a whole, complete whole, the county itself, with the number of residents we have, square mileage we have, the building we have, the constant construction and all those things, does more with less money than anybody in this state. From a government standpoint, we are very efficient for what we provide. But to keep that and to keep qualified people, skilled people who know this community and love to work here, love to be in Greenville, they have to address this pay issue. We're making a big deal out of this because it's been neglected for so long. They kicked the can down the road, and we just keep getting bypassed, that we're at a critical level. And until, they need to hear that from me, they need to hear that from Major Moore. This is an ongoing issue that is not going to go away. And address it every year. Every budget cycle, address the pay for the people of Greenville County, period, across the board. The jail's got 50 vacancies. Who's going to watch those 1,500 inmates over there? That number really, doesn't change a whole lot. There are 50 positions open over there. 50. That means they need 50 more people, probably still not enough, to keep order over at the detention center, to keep families going in and getting their loved one for visitation and getting mail and keeping people safe that are working in there. Can you imagine working over there and being just one officer working in a pod with
Absolutely
80
not.
inmates?
No. Nope.
How long is it going to take for somebody to get to you before something breaks out? That's simply because they can go next door, make 12 to 15,000 more doing the same job they're qualified for here. Why put up with it here and work harder here
For
when
less.
you can go next door and make $1,200 more a month and not have to deal with, some of the drama, some of the volume that you deal with in Greenville County?
And to point out, when we talk about these things, and I've talked to several people, I've talked to Greenville City people, Simpsonville people, we're not looking down our nose at anybody.
Right.
Absolutely
All
not.
the officers out here, you deal with what you deal with. I remember, my sergeant telling me a long time ago that the cop on the beat in New York City doesn't really answer any more calls than you do because you can only answer so many calls in a shift. You have what you can deal with. So we're not looking down. We're just talking about facts. These are the facts that are on the ground.
Well, and we're talking about Greenville County.
Right. Absolutely.
This isn't about the municipalities or other counties. We're talking about here, we're talking about the people that live in Greenville County and our agency being able to provide the care and the protection that they need as a growing community. And, if you don't want to listen to you, Sheriff, or to you, Major, or to our recruiting people, listen to the deputies that we've lost. We talked about deputies that left, and I made a note because I wanted to bring that out. Last year, we had 66 deputies leave Greenville County Sheriff's Office. And of the ones that were willing to do an exit interview, of course, not everybody did. I think we had about 15 to 20. Only 2 of those deputies did not say that the reason they left was because of pay or benefits. So that means every other deputy that left for more money.
Well, and
Absolutely.
we did have
Period.
retirements, but with the retirement of somebody that goes to the private sector or just retires and doesn't do anything, there goes that experience again that we just discussed earlier.
And you start over.
And you start over.
Just this year alone, we found out yesterday, we had a meeting last night and we were getting some numbers together. We've had 13 people leave, 13 certified people leave for jobs that either pay more or retire, because our retirement issue is a whole nother issue for legislators. But now you have to retire and be gone a year before you can come back into law enforcement. Those people took with them 25, 28, 30 years of experience.
You said this year.
This year so
So far
far,
this year.
And this,
we've lost
this is
13.
January.
And we're not even into January.
Right.
Right. So we've lost 13 people this month alone to SLED, other county agencies, other municipalities. And I think the minimum is about $11,000 difference. And they came in. They come see me and say, hey, here's my 2-week notice. I'm leaving, to go to work at City of Greer or Anderson County or whatever the case may be. And they say, boss, I'd love to stay, but this is paying my child care. This is paying my mortgage I just got. How can I not do it? I prayed about it. I talked to my wife about it. I talked to my husband about it. I hate to go, but I mean,
Their hands are tied.
they only have so many vacancies, and I'm going to take one.
Right.
We lost a girl in our intel division who was, literally in tears, who did not want to leave here. She loves Greenville County. She went to work at a great agency with great people. I know she's going to excel there and be very successful. But her statement was, it's $13,000 more a year. I got 2 kids. This is our child care. I pay $1,000 a month for child care. I just don't have an option.
And I think that there have been times when people put forward programs like first-time home buyer programs and things like that, and you try to keep telling them that we're losing people now. And what she said was, this is my mortgage payment every month. So I'm not trying to help this lady buy a new home, but the agency went to is now paying her what we paid her plus paying her mortgage
Right.
every month because of the raise that she got. And some people would say, well, we can't compete with this or we can't compete with that. We should at least try to compete, because that at least shows that we care enough to compete for our quality people, for our people that have all the information, we paid to train them.
Right.
And then once they do their, people have brought up, well, if we pay to train them and they leave, we have to go. You're talking about $9,000, maybe $10,000 you might get for someone you paid to train who left before their time was up, where they didn't have to pay. That's a drop in the bucket.
Right.
And it doesn't help replace the position
Nope.
they're leaving open. We got nothing to offer them.
And all the experience and training that just walked out the door.
And
can't
even
be paid for. You can't buy that training experience with $9,000.
no, and even with we got a 3%, and then we got a 6%. And tell me if I'm wrong on the numbers, but even the percentage that we've gotten over the last handful of years, we're still not keeping up with the economy.
That's how we got to where we are. That's why we're having this podcast today. It's not enough. It sounds good. That's why specifically we've asked for $12,000 again, from the chief deputy down to the newest deputy. I'm going to continue to say that instead of a percentage. They want to, we've not they, but I have had some discussions where they said, Sheriff, you know what, we could probably afford to give y'all 4%. 4% for Major Moore is much different than the 4% for the new deputy.
Right.
If you don't do it, this is a pay adjustment. It's not a bonus. It's not a one-time check. If you don't adjust their salaries now to give them that $12,000 to keep them in that top 2 or 3 agencies pay across the state, we will continue to lose people, and this will only get worse. Next year, we're going to be back, and it's probably going to be a $16,000 request if they don't do something now and address it in every budget cycle. Just be reasonable. You want the best from everybody working here. County council, the administrator, the department heads, when they call for the sheriff's office, they want the best possible service to show up. The citizens, when they dial 911, they want the best, most well-skilled, knowledgeable deputy to show up at their house. And that's what I want for them. But you got to help us get there. And you sure got to help us keep the people who have been here, who know what to do and have the knowledge and know the area, know the suspect you're talking about. We're 100% for solving homicides, 100% for finding missing people. Solved 13 cold cases in 6 years. We answer 500,000 calls a year. Tell me somebody else with the population we have, size of agency we have, that does that.
And we are fortunate that we have people here that love what they do, and that you kind of choke down the fact that you can't pay all your bills on time sometimes because you come in here and you love what you do. You love going out there and solving crimes. You
committed.
love helping people.
Absolutely.
We are fortunate that we have people that are willing to stay and do that, but everybody has their breaking point.
Well, on this side, when you're out here working 12 hours in the fleet, you're out here working and an officer just got shot at with some kind of round, you're trying to figure out what happened, get in a pursuit, wind up getting the guy, taking him to jail, and then you have to investigate that whole process. And you could go right next door and not have to do any of those things for an additional $1,200, $1,300, $1,500 a month, whatever the case may be, depending on where you go. You can't keep asking them to do provide the same level of service when you're not providing it as a county government to their families.
Right.
We can't do it.
And I think that one of the things, and I'm going to kind of drive this back to history again of where we're at. One of the things that we did at Greenville County, we had prior sheriffs that had gotten indicted and things slowed down, and it still doesn't excuse all the years that we went with not really addressing pay, just taking the minimum of what was given to us. And that's what we get. I mean, the sheriff doesn't decide what we get paid. And I'm sure the sheriffs that were there tried to get more money for their people at the time, but those were good times. That we went through some really fat years of Greenville County growth and things where we didn't address that with the people that were here to on pay. But also, eventually, every other agency in the state woke up. Like, people got tired. I remember Gene Taylor was sheriff of Anderson County when I left. And one of the things he said to me was, one day, Anderson County will have it where people come down through 85 to come to work here instead of always going up 85 to Greenville. And it happened. It's occurred where they can now have gotten raises to go work in Anderson County.
Yep.
Nothing wrong with Anderson County. Got a great sheriff, great place, lived there for a long time, worked there for 3 years. But it was that long ago when Gene Taylor was sheriff 20 years ago when he saw that, and he said, one day we will make it up. And as Greenville County as a whole, we just kind of sat back and said, we're Greenville County. We don't have to worry about competing for people. They'll just come here. Those days are gone.
They're
the market
gone.
has changed completely for law enforcement. And it started out west. Please don't let me go on too long about history.
No, you're fine.
It started out west. They started with the incentive pay. So you got a hiring bonus like you see the federal government doing now. They're, of course, paying way more than we would ever be able to pay. But you saw this occurring out in California and Nevada and Utah and places like that. And officers out there were just going from one place to another and getting that signing bonus. That was an issue that I read about in police magazines and law enforcement magazines, that that incentive really wasn't helping them retain anybody. It eventually moved across the country, and it's here to us. I know that the city at one time offered a signing bonus, and other places have offered signing bonuses. But what keeps people there is not a signing bonus.
Right.
What keeps people there is, one, having enough money to where they can enjoy their life a little bit and make all their bills. And two, having the support of the people that represent them on council or as the administrator or as the sheriff to be able to say, we value what you do. This is not, I am not going to balance the budget on your back.
It's not a good feeling when, as a deputy, you think that your county council doesn't really care.
Well, they put you last. They put you at the back of the line, and they just expect you to continue to do what you're doing, or they think anybody can do what you do for what we're paying you. That's okay. I'm all about accountability. I'm all about transparency. Look at our budget. Go online, greenvillecounty.org. You can pull that up. Look at what we spend. You have to pay the people doing the work to keep them. There is an abundance of knowledge here. I cannot tell you how many other agencies, municipalities, county, state, federal, that call us and say, hey, can you help us with this? Because we have very knowledgeable, very well-skilled people. I promise, and I told some council folks this, we got the best. They said, well, maybe we could do something on a performance level. Depending on their performance, we'll base their raise, do a merit increase on that. You don't want to pay them what they're worth. We don't have enough time for that conversation. You think $12,000 adjustment's something. Come out and ride, see what they do. I didn't see anybody lining up when a Greenville city officer got shot. I didn't see nobody in the parking lot volunteering to help us find this guy riding around shooting at deputies and shooting at city officers. I didn't get the first phone call offering to help us find him. We're asking these people to do so much more than they did 5 years ago, 10 years ago, certainly 30 years ago when we started. Policing is so much different today. The accountability is so much different than today. We're operating under the rules. We tried to do this the right way, and now here we are asking the public, figure out what district you live in, figure out what council person represents you. All I ask is that you call them or email them and tell them to make public safety a priority.
And I don't want to be, I don't want to throw the rain on the parade here, but I think we do need to talk for a minute about the what if.
Sure.
And that is, let's talk about if we don't get those increases, if we're not able to keep the people that we have to start shaving.
Absolutely.
Talk about what that shaving means for the community.
I think what you're looking at now, and I always try to be 2 steps ahead of everything that's going on. So it's my job to report to the sheriff what I see coming as part of his leadership team. And I guess it was probably 2 years ago, as we went down, as we fell behind further and further, and other agencies began to pay their people more and more, I began to go to him and say, listen, this is going to come to a head. I predicted that we would have 50 openings by January of this year, and it's probably closer to 60 because, and I'm not counting the trainee,
Right.
because the trainee has to ride with somebody. They can't answer a call by themselves, and we do not know they're going to make it through our training program.
Yep.
Greenville County is not an easy place to start your law enforcement career. Neither of us did. We started somewhere else. But the fact is that it's hard to start here. So when we started predicting about those openings, I started putting plans together about what units we would have to draw back to uniform patrol to be able to answer calls, to draw people into CID to be able to keep up with white collar, homicide, gang investigations, narcotics investigations, things like that. And basically you're talking about, my first place to go to was the extras that Greenville County has always provided, like community patrol and the deputies that go out and service their community and go to those meetings and do the what's the program name for the overdoses?
The opioid response team,
yes.
the homeless response team, traffic.
All of those guys come back to uniform patrol. So all of those extras that we were doing disappear. And now, instead of having someone respond to someone in the community by saying, yep, I'm your community deputy, I will talk to your neighbor for you, I will help with that, the signage not being right and people running stop signs because there's no stop sign there, whatever it is, they're not that anymore. You just call 911 and it gets put in call for the rest of the calls out
Right.
there, and it gets prioritized
And
in
you're
the priority
in
of
an
life.
order, right?
Yeah, and whatever's closer to somebody possibly losing their life shoots to the top every time,
Yep.
and you get pushed further down. Those are all extras that the sheriff has always been able to provide that will disappear. There's no doubt about it. If we do not address this, halt this, and reverse this process, those things will disappear.
And it's hard for the community to really understand that because right now, if you don't have to deal with law enforcement, if I don't have to call 911, if I don't have an issue, I don't really think about it, right?
That's right.
It's there. I take it for granted, basically. That's what people do. It's just the way it is. You expect it to be there when you need it. The rest of the time, it's not really on your list of priorities. The things that we have, the extras like you're talking about, that we've had in place, all the things since he came into being the sheriff of this agency, we would not be the same county if we start losing our extras.
All of your clearance rates are going to go down because there's not people to investigate those things. We would have to, again, take from the cold case unit those victims, family members of victims that we promise we're going to do everything we can to find an answer. We're going to have to put those back on the shelf, put those folks back in a uniform, back on the road. SROs, you have an SRO deputy in every elementary school. That's a priority for us.
Yep.
Keep our schools, make them hard targets, and keep a deputy there. Somebody's got to answer the calls for service. Now you're going to have a deputy respond to that school in case something happens, instead of having one on scene.
So now when you think about your kid being in school, or you think about your loved one that got killed 30 years ago that you still don't have an answer for, those are the kind of things that we want the community to think about.
The homeless, how many calls did we get our first 2 years in office of homeless folks who were trying to wash windows at intersections and sleeping on sidewalks and sleeping on the porch of businesses? Well, guess what? We created a homeless response unit with 3 people just to go out, identify them, and find resources for them to get them off the road, get them out of the county. Even the city had to pass a camping ordinance to try to keep them off the sidewalk. At the county level, we had law enforcement go out, and I think at the time we documented 1,300 homeless folks. That's down to about 700 now because they have been placed in other places, whether it's the rescue mission or Salvation Army.
But we were also
opportunities.
able to help people get home.
Absolutely.
Some of these homeless people were
Reunification.
stuck in Greenville and had a drug problem, drinking problem, didn't have the money for a bus ticket. We found resources through our homeless response unit to be able to get them home to
Back
their
to their
family.
families.
If those people go back to the road and start answering calls, all the homeless calls start to come in again, and that just becomes another call for service at the bottom of that list, because at the time it's not a dangerous call, it's not an in progress call, and we get enough of those, right? Burglaries in progress, a shooting of some kind, keeping deputies out on the road, keeping deputies answering calls will always be a priority, and we have to make sure we fulfill that part of our obligation, which means we will have to take from wherever we can. All the complaints about traffic and school zones and people passing stop school buses, our DUI enforcement team, guess what? They're going to have to go to a different channel and answer calls instead of doing traffic enforcement.
Right.
Community action team, like the major mentioned, those members in the community can call that deputy directly and report problems, report issues, and we can address them right away before they get out of hand, or it spreads to another area, whatever the case may be. That'll have to stop. We have to have uniformed people in a marked car answering calls. And our drug unit, that is, a lot of people don't know, our drug enforcement unit is made up of municipalities, county agency, narcotics. They're in a separate location. They do work people don't even know about. When you talk about fentanyl and our overdose team and all those things, we have to have deputies answering calls.
Right.
That's the priority. We owe that to the people of Greenville County.
It's required by law.
Yeah, we're gonna fulfill that. So it has to come from somewhere, and those are the things people never see. If they would read our annual report, if they would watch this podcast, if they would go look online, go to our social media pages and look and see all the work everybody's doing, maybe they would have some understanding of just how busy it is here in Greenville County and how much worse it could be.
And
It's a constant struggle.
When you start talking about all those extras too, realize that we have led the state and led by example of making federal cases with our federal partners on distribution of fentanyl that resulted in a death. I mean, we didn't write the law, but we took it and we used it because we were able to put people there to be able to solely investigate someone's death from a fentanyl overdose. Sometimes we can't make those charges and we feel horrible for the families, but somebody's there looking at the person that dealt those drugs to go at them another way, put them in jail for something else.
Right.
And if I can for just a second, you mentioned that was a really long question with a lot of things in it, but one of the things that stuck out to me was special teams.
Yes.
So we have special teams here at the sheriff's office, and I pick K9 because it's a favorite of mine, and we have great K9 people. They do amazing things. We've had K9s that have been shot and stabbed where an officer didn't get shot and stabbed. I think it's one of the greatest things we have. But I think the thing that people in the public or the taxpayers don't know, I certainly would not know if I didn't work here, was that
They don't pay for that.
Yes, there is no line item budget for K9 in our budget at all.
Right.
Every
dog
has been bought by somebody else, and we don't mind that.
A citizen, a donation,
Right.
has purchased it.
We don't mind those people. We love them. People love dogs. They like to buy the dogs. They're great. That's not saying that we want the county to pay for everything. We don't mind going out and asking and getting those people to help. But there are probably two people in this county, two people that donate, that keep that dog program going.
Absolutely.
If those two people were to go away, our dog program would disappear overnight. We don't pay.
And that means humans
Have
go
to go
into
do
the
their
house,
job.
the
Yes.
barricades and the
Right.
dangerous spots.
Exactly. There's nobody sniffing for drugs. There's nobody sniffing for a lost child. The
Firearms now.
firearm. We have a gun dog. We're
Yep.
fixing to get a gun dog program started because we used one from the ATF that was fantastic. All of those resources we will lose if those two people were to walk away.
Right.
Because I know one of them probably donates somewhere around $200,000 a year for medical attention for dogs that are shot or stabbed.
And basic needs.
Yes.
He takes care of all that.
Your tax dollars pay for the car. They pay for the salary of the officer. They pay for a lot of the ins and outs of that. But without the dog, without the health care, which is huge, without those things being paid for, they would disappear tomorrow. The SWAT team, and I'm sorry, go back to the dogs. They also teach a class once or twice a year that people come to and pay
To learn.
to learn because we have to certify our dogs.
Right.
So we certify other people's dogs and they pay, and that goes into their foundation account to spend on the things that they need, but it would still not be enough to keep that going. The SWAT team is the same way. When the SWAT team comes out and deals with an individual that is refusing to give up, or we do a hostage rescue or something like that, a lot of that is not paid for by the county. They teach classes. They get donations every year. The dive team, all of these extras that we put in, those
Search
guys,
and rescue.
the drone unit, which the sheriff started when we got here. We have drones on every shift now so that we can, when your child disappears or you think it's walked off in the woods, we can immediately go up with a drone. Those things have been by donations. I think even one of the councilmen donated
part of their discretionary funds to buy a couple drones.
Because there's no line item budget for it.
Our crimes against children. We had to go out and seek a donation for $80,000 to upgrade the computers because the county didn't have it. We couldn't purchase them. You're talking about finding people who have child porn, sex offenders, catch a predator, those type things. We had to have a citizen come in, write us an $80,000 check to replace these computers that download this information, download these phones, do all that stuff. I mean, those are not in our budget. 92% of our budget strictly goes to personnel. I promise you, if people could look, there is no fluff to cut. There is no fleecing of America.
The numbers sound staggering to someone who doesn't know the ins and outs of the budget and what it costs to run a law enforcement agency. But I think what a lot of people are missing is the money's there. The money's there. You think about the taxpayers.
I think there's not a lot of money, like I said earlier, at Greenville County. There really isn't. There is no hidden pot of money to pull from.
No, I'm sorry. I should have clarified. Not at our agency.
Right.
As a county wide, as far as the money that comes into the
even
county.
From taxpayer money and corporations and FELOs and all those things, fees for permits, Greenville County does more with less. There is not a lot of money to pull from. It's up to council to prioritize what they do have. And it's tough. I know the roads need to be redone. Mm-hmm. We set aside $40 million for roads, and here we are at the end of January. That budget was passed July. We haven't paved anything. I hadn't seen the first pothole filled because we're not ready for that. Last year, we had money in the budget for road paving. I didn't see anything get paved. The year before, money was set aside. So it winds up being diverted to other places. It's the squeaky wheel gets the grease type thing. And that's part of this issue. We don't want to be the squeaky wheel.
Right.
All I want county council to do is make the people who do the work a priority. Put them first. When you work on the budget, let's look at their pay. Let's figure out what, because we're telling you, we're critical. I mean, we really are. Us, the jail, we're at a critical point right now on the service we provide to this community and keeping people safe, keeping schools safe, keeping motorists safe, keeping businesses safe. Address the issue because we are not going away. You have to look at the pay. You have to look at other counties. You have to look at other municipalities because we don't want to be doing this and spend our time doing this. We have other things to do every budget year. We're not trying to come back and do this and put pressure on them. Do it yourself. Y'all be the heroes. Y'all look at it, you'll figure it out. It's easy. It's plain as the nose on their face.
So what will you do, Sheriff? What will you do if once again you go back this cycle and the answer's another no or a small percentage that we're really not even hitting the target with?
We will absolutely do what we're doing now, and we are going to give the public every piece of information about where public safety is and where it's funded. And the no votes, the yes votes, we'll put a link on our page to the council meeting that addresses our pay so people can see it. Every committee of the whole meeting where they discuss our pay before going to a council meeting. And we will continue to push, obviously politically then. We want council people that supports core functions of government. There is no higher core function than public safety. That's it. Infrastructure is important. Education is important. I get that. But nothing is more important than you and your family's safety when you turn the lights off and lock your doors and go to bed at night. Nothing could be more important than when a child walks into school and you drive away to know they're going to be safe all day. Nothing can be more important as a business owner to unlock your business and bring employees in and know they're going to be safe and people are trained to deal with a response of some kind at your business. What other priority is there?
And when you talk about, I of course took that question a little bit different than he did, because he tasks me with always having a plan. So during COVID, when all that was going on, I put plans together for stuff that never happened. But the plan is that we will have to start drawing from other places in the agency, like we talked about before. But currently, now, with the openings we have, we try to keep uniform patrol at a certain level of staffing, not counting the trainees. So that has begun to filter out into the other units inside the agency. So we had openings in white collar. I had lost 2 white collar investigators, one to another investigative position inside, one to an investigation job outside the agency. So I was able to go around and have to make deals inside the agency, say, okay, can you give me this? I need this right now. It's one of the busiest units we have, period. But when those openings take place at the training center, then someone has to go fill that for the new people, and then I have to bring them back. So we're doubling, we're paying overtime we shouldn't be paying to people to have to go do these other jobs and to call them in to have to work. So the fact is that the plan is in place. I don't think that anybody realized how desperate that plan can be. We shared that with council members. We shared that with the new council members that were elected, and told them, I think my numbers are off a little bit, but everything that's going on right now has been discussed and talked to, at least with those 4. I don't think I talked with Joe or anybody like that about it, but we shared that information with them before it ever went public so that they could know exactly what they were walking into. And if you remember the committee of the whole meeting, I thank them very much for the raises we got. We're all appreciative of that, but they got elected into a position where this already existed. It's not their fault. I'm not blaming them for us being where we're at now, but it has to be
They
fixed.
have the power to change it, though.
And when you start talking about core functions of government, so I'm a conservative, I get the mailer for being like voting the most Republican, I get those mailers and those texts constantly because I give. But the fact is, what are we required to do? If we're going to cut back to core functions of government, and that's all the people that want to pay for, you are required by law to do the sheriff work. You are required by law to do the jail work. And you are required by law to do the solicitor's work. And that's the public safety side. I don't address the others that the sheriff do, but that's what you are required by law to pay. Those are the base. That's the basis of what you have. If that's all you want, then that's what we will give you. If you want the extra stuff and you want the people to stay here, then council has to look at public safety in a different light. And the light they have to look at is if public safety falls apart, people don't move here. You don't need the roads. Right. You don't need the infrastructure because ain't nobody here.
It's a snowball effect in a way. And tell me if I'm wrong in saying this, but we talk about our issues right now with retention and with getting, recruitment and everything. If we start shaving the extra positions that were not extra, but the different functions that we have that have a very specific purpose, there goes a lot of the incentive that people have for staying here. You put more pressure
on the deputies that are still here doing the work. Don't expect them to stay, because every agency watching this is recruiting everybody on the other side of that wall.
Right.
That's a fact.
And the people, some of those people that are in those, like the say the opioid investigation person, that may be the job they want to have for the rest of their life. Maybe they lost somebody to opioid addiction or to alcoholism and they want to make a difference there. If I take them back and put them on the road, they're going to go somewhere else. They're going to start looking at the other agencies inside South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, Florida. They're going to start looking at the state and federal agencies where they can go back to doing that job they wanted to do to begin with. It's not that they don't want to be a deputy or that they mind helping, but they want to make a difference in this particular area. Child sex crimes is the same way. There are people that come here, and they're a special group of people that say, I am going to expose myself to this garbage so that I can save a child's life, that I can save a child from being a victim. And if you take them out of that to make them do something else, they're gonna be like, nah, I'm gonna
And
go.
you don't have people lined up at the door to fill those positions.
No, you certainly do
But
not.
you do have people lined up at the door constantly trying to recruit those trained people who specialize in that. It don't matter if it's SLED, other counties, other municipalities. I mean,
And that's a topic for another podcast that we'll have. But we're one of the only agencies in the state that even has, the ICAC division. And again, we'll get into all that later. But every unit that we have, every division that we have, is not fluff. It's there for a reason, and it's there for the people in our community that we all took an oath to serve and protect.
It's necessary.
And this constant, push and the work that you guys and the other ones here do with county council to get this raised, you're doing this for the future of everybody that lives in this county.
This is strictly for
county.
We all do.
the deputies doing the work and the public they serve. This will have a direct impact on every citizen in Greenville County. Every person who works in Greenville County that travels through Greenville County will feel the effects of this. Either way, a much, much better, obviously, effect if we can recruit and retain people, or much worse, much higher call time, response time, higher volume of calls if we don't get it with fewer deputies. This is nothing new. This has been going on for decades and decades and decades. And
It's nice to know that we have you guys and the others in the fight working for the people at this agency, and that even, you've been doing this year after year after year.
But we're just a very small representation today of the people who fight for this. This is ongoing. This is meetings and constant communications and studies.
We don't work in a silo. Everybody in the agency helped put these numbers together that I took to the committee of the whole meeting. Everybody helped put together the talking points and going forward. But as a taxpayer and a person that lives in this county, and the way that I was raised and the way that I grew up, I want to leave it better off than what I found it. I want Greenville County to be the shining star and the shining example for the Southeast, not just the state, where people look at Greenville County at the way we do things and the cutting edge and being on the cutting edge of things, technology-wise and enforcement-wise, and the plans that we come up with and the things that we do. It's a point of pride for me to know that one of our guys came up with an idea for the opioid unit.
Right.
And comes and sells it to the sheriff, and the sheriff's like, yes, we need to be doing that. And I'm not saying that's how it went, but that's how often these plans go. So that's a point of pride that
the wellness unit that happened outside the sheriff's office with Major Miller, who said, hey, we need to do this. The medical unit, I mean, those guys are amazing. The lives they've saved, deputies' lives they've saved, citizen lives they've saved, suspect lives they've saved. All that came from great ideas outside of my particular office. It's not something Hobart Lewis came up with.
Right.
And great ideas are born here and talked about every day.
The search and rescue, it was funny when we went over to help a neighboring county, and that sheriff was so kind to us and so nice to us. And so when he came to talk about how he said if he ever gets lost, he hopes it's in Greenville County, because we will find him. We don't give up.
And that says something.
Those things are all things that we're very proud of and that we want to keep going. My time is short. I got 31 years in law enforcement. I can't do this forever. I'm training the guy to take my place. I want the guy or girl to take my place to think the same way I do about customer service and about serving our community and doing the right thing, which means we have to retain people. If we don't retain people, I mean, you talk about, they talk about people giving a raise. Well, we'll do it for this group of people, but not this group of people. So lieutenants have been left out multiple times. But if, as a lieutenant, if I'm a deputy too, and I'm looking at lieutenant, and I realize that I can go somewhere else, do less work, and eventually make lieutenant and make more money than these lieutenants are making, Why wouldn't I go there for
I
my
know.
career to be there?
Or why
It
would you
makes
get
sense.
promoted here if you're a corporal, master deputy, we call them here, a sergeant? Why would you take a lieutenant's position here and lose $8,000 a year? You can't piecemeal this thing. We've done that in the past, and it got us in a terrible situation with what's called the exempt employees, lieutenants and above. And because they're committed, they stayed and they toughed that out. But, I mean, enough's enough. And we're trying to take it to the public. We hope they'll help us contact your council person and tell them public safety is a priority. It's a core function of government. You know, we have a really Republican-led council. There's no reason in the world that public safety should not be a priority when you talk about pay in every budget cycle. The
Right.
first conversation should be pay.
Right.
Buildings, all that stuff should come later. Got a new county square up there on the hill. Got the old one torn down, the construction, they're selling property and doing this and doing that. That, you know, that had to be done. They made a decision that, hey, we do need a new building and Greenville's growing and all this stuff. Fine. But that discussion should come well after compensating employees and keeping and retaining great employees who have served this county so well and do such a tremendous job.
And, you know, we've talked about it before. We're talking about it today. We're going to keep talking about it. Like you said, you know, people, if you can reach out to your district, your councilman, you know, it's an ongoing issue. And I hope that one day, you know, it will work out, obviously, to our benefit
It
so
will.
that we can keep
It
doing
will.
the job we're doing, because that's what's most important. But we've got, Sheriff, in the coming weeks, we've got a lineup of podcasts I'm very excited about. You know, you've come up with some really good stuff. I can't wait to get it out there and for people to listen and hear. Major Moore, it has been a blast having you on here with us.
The
You know,
singing
Sheriff-
major.
Yeah, all these hidden talents.
Yeah.
I learn more and more every day.
I think I would like to say one more thing to the public, like the sheriff has. I believe the public here is our greatest defenders. We have people move from all over the country that move here, who get their dinner bought for them, that get drinks bought for them, that people pat them on the back. We're basically putting the public in the driver's seat of this market adjustment.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, our fate is kind of in their hands because we believe in them as much as they believe in us.
This is true.
So it is a cooperative effort for sure.
And we will post, if you find out what district you live in, we'll be glad to post your councilman's name, district, email, and phone number on there. Either way, you know, I'm sure there's some people that's going to watch this and go, they're fine. They don't need that. That's fine too. That's okay. That's why we live in the greatest country in the world. That's part of it. You call them too. But if you believe in law enforcement, you see what's going on, you see the need, you see how important this is, please take a moment to look down that list, find your council person, and call and tell them public safety should be a priority. Pay these folks.
And continue to watch our podcasts. Find us on Spotify, on our YouTube channel, and of course, we always put a link on our Facebook page. We'll have more coming out. Hopefully, won't have as much of a break as we've had. I'm about to take this mic away from you. I keep seeing him
would
go
have
like, we're
missed
never
it.
going to end
Yeah.
this
I
here.
wouldn't have missed it for the world.
In Studio 4, it's been a good
Yeah.
time. Everybody did a great job. Can't call it Studio 1, I don't guess, but since we're 4 McGee Street, we'll call it Studio 4.
There we
But
go.
everything looks so great, and it's been always fun to take a break and be able to do this, and thank you everybody for taking the time to watch it. This is unusually long podcast because it is a very, very serious topic. We cut up a little bit, but this is, I promise you, when you talk about the safety of this community, you're at 0 point critical. We need your help.
Thanks for watching Roll Call with the Sheriff. We'll see you next time.
Catch you later.
Take this away.